Shalom everyone, welcome to the very first Lightning Candle webinar. My name is Chaim. I am your host here. I'm very happy to be here speaking about a very deep topic. And I suppose I should speak a little bit about myself. So turns out I'm Jewish. I was born in Brazil, and after going back to my roots, back to observance in Judaism, I got married, and we came here to live in Israel. So now, after leaving my job as a content writer in a trader, I decided to create the Lightning Candle, which is basically a blog or website in which I put many of my ideas that I learned, ideas that are my own, and some ideas that I learned throughout my process of returning back to Judaism. So I'm very excited to be here. I'd like to again, once again, welcome you all to the webinar called Secret Patterns of Reality. So here is the thing. We'll be talking about something very deep here, and it might seem actually that it's not, that it might actually seem very obvious, but trust me, this is very, very deep, and we can go on and on and on without end. So let us begin. So first, we have to understand that when we talk about the human mind, which is the most powerful tool that there is for us to apprehend in the universe, there are really two ways that we can apprehend reality with it. And that's what we'll be talking about mostly. So as you probably saw in my book, it's for free at the website, called Reality, Its Many Levels and Benefits of True Spirituality. Reality is actually ordered in many levels, and you will see that according to science, even chaos has a certain order. So these order patterns are actually present in every single level of reality, and that's what we'll be exploring a little bit here in the webinar. So one of the most important things to know also is that we are talking here about a system of knowledge. And this is something I learned from Judaism. If you want to know about a system and you want it to make sense, then you have to obviously understand all its parts. Sometimes when you don't understand all its parts, it doesn't make sense, and you need to study much, much more. And the more you study, the more it makes sense, and the more you will learn, will have a better understanding of it. So bear with me a little bit if it doesn't make sense for now, but I promise you to, if you just persist a little bit. So let's start now with the first way we perceive reality. So the first way that we perceive reality is through what is called hearing. Now, hearing in Hebrew is called shmiya, and it's associated with words. This may seem a bit obvious, but please bear with me again. So what happens when, let's put it in a very simple way. What happens when we speak? So speech is actually a contraction of ideas that are happening in our minds, and we try to put them to reality and to transmit them. So in essence, words are actually broken forms of ideas that are condensed and are restrained in a way so that other people can receive them. Now, obviously, again, when we speak, there's a very distinct characteristic of speech, which is that when I am speaking, I need to finish all my phrase until you know what ideas I'm talking about. And this is a very strong point that we need to have very clear, that speech is by definition very, very limited. And what happens is that when we are speaking, we need to put one word after another and another, and sometimes the idea doesn't make sense until we finish reading everything. So it's the same concept that I spoke before when speaking about the systems. Now, This obviously is a very often, we are used to speaking a lot without thinking. So it might seem something very simple, but there is actually a very tough job of deciphering words. When we speak commonly, usually in everyday life, we don't find it difficult to understand ideas because we know them. But when you are trying to learn something new, then it's a big problem. It's very difficult. It can be very difficult to put ideas together, to put words together, to form coherent ideas in order to actually translate that into proper knowledge. So that's the first. That is the first type of the first way we apprehend reality, and it's called apprehension through words, basically, and it's associated with the word in Hebrew bina. Bina means actually understanding. However, the translation from Hebrew to another language like English doesn't do justice to the full concept, because the ideas in Hebrew, the words in Hebrew, actually they represent much deeper ideas than what seems at first reading, because the words and the letters themselves, they have deep secrets inside that each letter has a certain number, a value of number, and we can combine them, and we can each word actually reflects the essence of a certain concept. So when you say, for example, the word dog, this is something just out of curiosity. Dog doesn't really, it means an animal, but it doesn't mean the essence of the animal. So the Jewish sages, they actually say that dog, which is kelev in Hebrew, is a contraction of the words kol lev, which means all heart, which is basically what a dog is. The dog is cute, and he's all heart for us humans. But there are many, of course, many other examples of this. And anyway, this is a bit, just we're digressing a little bit. So that's the first the first way we apprehend reality, which is through hearing, and which brings us to understanding. Now, before we start the second way of apprehension, let's just consider a little bit for now an example of two doctors who are graduating, and they are hypothetically, let's say hypothetically speaking, bear with me, they have exactly the same skills and the same intellect and the same capacity and the same everything, the same grades and everything. Let's just, imagine that if it was possible. So as these two doctors, they're finishing med school with exactly the same grades, each of them, one of them, actually the first one, goes on a vacation, and the second one has his first surgery by himself. Now, this is, of course, again, a hypothetical scenario, because I'm assuming doctors, of course, they are well trained in med school before going out to do surgery. But let's just assume that this is the first time he's at least alone doing his first surgery. Now, we know, of course, it's obvious that the second doctor who went to surgery, he's already in a much higher position than the first one who went to the beach. Why is that? So now we know that anyone can readily understand that it's because the second one has practical knowledge. But what is behind this practical knowledge? Let's try to analyze the essence of what is practical knowledge in all cases. We'll look at this case, and then we'll derive all other cases from that, and we'll see how we apprehend the reality through in this way. So let's just a second. All right. Now, as I said before, in order to understand every system of thought or every sort of apprehension, we need to to understand the parts together. But after we understand all the parts and put them together, then we have a much, much higher type of knowledge, which is called basically wisdom. In Hebrew, it's called chokhmah. And again, the translation doesn't do justice to the full concept of what it is in Hebrew. And this second type of apprehension is when a person puts all the parts together and he is able to see the full system working as a whole. While and this is how associated with seeing. Seeing is, if you think about it, just seeing for a while, stop for a while, and let's think about it a little bit. Seeing is actually a way that we perceive the world by receiving directly all the information that we need. If somebody looks at the picture, he can really understand many, many details of the picture. He can see who are friends with whom, and which people are related somehow. They are usually together, and people who don't like each other so much. So and all sorts of information that comes through seeing. And it's funny because we say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in fact that's not true, because no amount of words can accurately describe a picture. So I can have a picture in my mind and I can describe you for an infinite amount of time, and you never paint something that I have here with me. So when we see something, it's the information is there. We perceive it in a flash, right away. And so this is seeing, which is called, like in Jungian terms, actually, the psychologist, non-verbal knowledge. This is a type of knowledge that comes not with words, because everything that's with words is related to the first concept that we just learned. Now, as we see, these two concepts are interrelated, of course, and this is a very deep thing, because in essence, wisdom vests itself in knowledge. So everything that we describe into words is actually a contraction of non-verbal knowledge. All ideas that we have, everything that we try to convey, these are much, much higher concepts, and we try to put them into words in order so that people can actually receive them. And it's interesting because while we can apprehend understanding, which is the first concept, we can't apprehend wisdom from another person. So everything that you hear is basic understanding, and everything that you are able to perceive by yourself but you can't put into words, then that's wisdom. Which is, again, the first one is Bina, and the second one is Chokhmah. Now, there are many ramifications to this, but we have to limit ourselves for a while. Now, we'll go now for, this is one of the patterns of reality. Now we'll go for the second pattern of reality, which is in essence related to this first one, this first pair, which is the the external and internal, let's put like that, side of a concept. So when we look at a person and we see at his face, we're able to apprehend many things that are, many emotions that come from inside him. He doesn't really say anything, but when we see someone who's mad or somebody who is happy, then we can actually have a glimpse of what goes on inside his mind. And the external part of that knowledge is what we apprehend, which is actually a sort of stamp, not a stamp, but something like a contraction of what goes on in his inner world. So again, there is internal and external and an external level. So In my book that I spoke before about reality, it's called Reality, Its Many Levels and Benefits of True Spirituality, I write that reality can actually be divided into 4 levels. That's not just a human psyche, but also everything that we apprehend, which is the highest level is soul, the second level highest is intellect, then the third highest is emotions, and the fourth highest is the realm of actions. Now, we are all a composite of these 4 levels, and everything there is in the world is also, again, a concept of a composite of all these 4 levels. So, 1 second. So now, the soul is considered the source of all our actions that come. So the soul vests itself like in the intellect, like somebody vests a piece of clothing. This happens like in a conceptual manner. Of course, it's just the material, but try to picture that we are vesting something into another thing. So the highest concept vests itself in the lowest level, the lower level, just below it. So the soul vests itself in the intellect, and the intellect vests itself in the emotions, and the emotions vest themselves in the actions. So we think, and our psyche is a composite of what we are. There's a conscious and unconscious part, and the conscious part is usually referred to as the soul. So in the same manner, the emotions are a product of our intellect and our soul, of course, again. So if you think about something for a long enough period of time, for example, a friend or a loved one, then you're going to change your emotions. That's it's basic things. It's truly, there's no secret here. Similarly, if we think about somebody we don't like, then our emotions are going to change accordingly. And of course, the emotions vest themselves in the actions. And our actions are basically a product of our emotions, our intellect, and our soul. Now, again, this refers to we're talking here about the second pair of concepts of patterns, which relates to external and internal sides of the of every concept. Now, there is this internal and external set is actually defined in Greek philosophy as form and matter. Form being the external part of everything, and matter being the internal substance there is. For example, if we have a bottle of water, then the bottle itself would be the external part, and water itself would be the internal part. That should be pretty obvious. Now, this also relates to the male and female interaction that we have in in marriage. However, we don't have much time to speak about that marriage, and it's again a very deep concept and is related to how to achieve peace in marriage if each person knows their role. But we'll have to skip that for now. Maybe I will be doing another webinar about it later. So now the final pattern that I have here prepared is the pattern which I spoke before in one of my articles at the Lightning Candle, which is the 3-step process to all ascension. Now, as you know, some people might think that spirituality is all about having, feeling good and having fun, and not really making an effort. However, as we see, it's not very true, and we'll see now why. So the 3-step process is like this. In every endeavor that we go through, in every cycle in life that you go through, we have 3 stages to accomplishing something. So the first initial stage is a stage where in Greek dialectics is paralleled by has a parallel in Greek dialectics as the thesis. So it's something that is an initial situation of balance, in which a person has an idea to go higher, to change his inner world or his outer world. It can also be that, and he so to speak makes a preparation for that. Now, through that we are sorry, just 1 second. So let's take an example. Somebody wants to go to college or learn to play the guitar, or even wants to get married. When that happens, then he has to make an effort to, let's say, pay the tuition, buy the guitar, or find a partner. And it's this is just the easy part, because afterwards comes the real challenge. So the second part is actually marked by extreme challenges. It's challenging to, learn, actually going to college and studying, and actually playing and training the guitar, and actually getting married and starting marriage life. These are all part of the parts of the second stage, which is which in Greek dialectics is paralleled by the antithesis. So this second part is it's the hard part, which everybody has to go through. Similarly with spirituality, if you want to try to do something new, for example, you want to try to fast, or you want to try to meditate for the first time, it is very difficult, because if you're not used to it, then it can take quite a toll on the body. But actually, meditation is pretty easy. But other practices like praying for long periods of time, or fasting, waking up early, that can also be very taxing on the body. But once you get used to it, it's not very difficult. Now, after all that suffering, so to speak, there comes the third part, which is the synthesis in Greek dialectics, which is the harmony and balancing and transcendence of a person goes through after all the process. So after a person learns, in college, and as graduates, after a person learns to play guitar and becomes a famous musician, after a person actually achieves peace at home and everything else you can imagine, then there comes this third and final stage, which is the bliss. Now, many New Age cults and religions out there, they like to take out the second part, which is the hard part, which nobody likes, because it's difficult and it takes time and it's painful. And they just promise that people can go through life and through everything just through those two stages. The first initial stage, okay, you are good, and then you get better, but you don't need to make an effort for that. And that's, of course, false, because there's no shortcut for anyone. There really is absolutely no way somebody can skip through the second stage. And in fact, the second stage, which challenges us, is the one that actually tests who's the real deal, who wants to go through, who is it separates the man from the boys, as people usually say. And in fact, it's what separates people, because some people can have greater willpower than others, and in some aspects maybe not, but overall that's what separates people, is their capacity to go to the second stage. Now, all these concepts that I spoke about, these three patterns, they are really interrelated, because we can, in essence, say that these three processes are actually divided into two, like the challenges, and then we can just consider them as the challenges and the bliss. In which case, the challenge, the hard part, will be the external part the external side of a concept, and the bliss will be the internal part. So as we go through, as we advance spiritually, then we are able to perceive the internal reality of behind all the universe more and more, and life becomes sweeter. I compare in my book that I spoke before, the free ebook in the website that you can get there. I compared the reality with basically an onion, which has many layers. However, contrary to an onion, we're able to enjoy reality more and more the more we dig in, the more we go further inside, and we see that life is actually very good. And it's interesting to know that that's actually the essence of happiness, the way to achieve happiness, which is to go through one cycle to after another. Now we all have many cycles in life, and cycles interpose each other. Sorry, I said that again. The more you exert yourself, the more you keep yourself busy in the process, the more you are able to perceive more, the more you are able to let's say, nullify your external senses, your external, the pain that comes through effort. And the more you're able to, in fact, transcend and find happiness within. And our soul needs movement. This is an absolute rule. And sadness is, in fact, the absence of that movement towards spirituality. So when we are actually going through the challenges in life, we need to keep in mind that this is all for the best, that this is all going to make us stronger. And when we see the great masters, at least the Jewish masters, the Jewish tzaddikim that we call them, they in fact have gone through so much in life, it's actually unbelievable. And this never-ending going forward is an expression of the soul. Because when we are bored and we actually stay in the same place, we don't progress, and life actually becomes very painful. In fact, it's people who are depressed, they can't do anything. It's actually a cause and consequence of their being sad, but this is what happens. And again, the secret of happiness is to never stop moving forward, to keep yourself busy. Not often when we think so much about things, we actually end up harming ourselves. Now, this is not an invitation to stop thinking, because that would be very stupid. But again, the cycle of life is that we go through many cycles in life. And knowing how the cycles work and how reality is structured is one of the most important steps towards achieving transcendence, fulfillment, and inner peace, which of course is happiness, basically. So now that concludes our webinar. And I would like to say also that the world is really an amazing place. There is absolutely many things that are worthwhile, and it's a great place to learn. And if we just open our eyes and make a little bit of effort, then we'll see how things work and life becomes much better. Now, I would like, before I leave here, I would like to invite you all to my new course, which I'm still making, but I'm inviting you now already, which is called the Mind Mastery course. Now, this is not a mindfulness course, but something much deeper. Now, this is a way that I'll be teaching people to see, to meditate, and to also use our minds to their full capacity. And we'll be learning many cool things, many cool techniques, and about lucid dreaming. I'll give you the details soon after I finish the course. And all these techniques will boost up our capacity to learn, capacity to memorize, our capacity to sleep and think. And this is really, it's going to be really great. So you are invited. If you want to receive information about it, just go to the website or thelightningcandle.com and sign up for our newsletter, or you can send an email to chaim@thelightningcandle.com, and I'll be sending information soon again. Now, there will be 6 classes where I'll be teaching more a bit about how the mind works, the techniques or hacks, if you will, and we'll be doing exercise together. And in between the classes, we'll have one webinar each week, in which I'll be answering questions online. So it will be really, really cool. Now, if you're interested, send me an email or sign up for the newsletter. I'll also be sending soon many inspiring messages. And that was it. I hope you all enjoyed the webinar. I hope to see you soon. And this video will go to YouTube. So if you enjoyed, you might want to share it with somebody. And if you're seeing this in YouTube already now, you are welcome to comment here in the section below and give us your like. Please also follow us on social media. We're there everywhere. And until next time, hope you have a wonderful week. Shalom, shalom. Over and out.